Hey everybody, this is TJR. Last weekend I had the opportunity to go to Amoeba Music in Los Angeles, California. And in case you've never heard about it or never been there, Amoeba Music is, to the best of my knowledge, the largest music store that I've ever seen in Southern California. And if there is a larger one, please tell me. They have a huge selection of new and used CDs and vinyl. They also have a huge selection of new and used books and a huge selection of new and used videos, DVDs, and Blu-ray. And they're a bit of a drive, so I don't get to go there too often. Usually when I do, it's because I have some media that I want to trade in. And I had recently inherited a large bag of old records, none of which I had any interest in. So I thought, hey, let's take it down to Amoeba Records and see what we get. I wasn't sure how much I would get for these old records, and surprisingly, I got a nice little chunk of change. So I went on a little shopping spree and thought I'd just share with you what it was I picked up here. And also, this is stuff that I might be talking about in future episodes, so please just give me your feedback on all this. So first of all, I want to bring up this here. Now, I had previously owned this album, but only as a digital copy. This is the deluxe edition of the Odyssey and the Oracle by the Zombies. And Robert Kinsler, if you've ever watched him and I on Music Worth Buying, he's a huge fan of the Zombies. And I have to admit, his enthusiasm for them helped get me into them. And I first listened to Odyssey and the Oracle not that long ago, maybe just a few years ago, and I have to admit I was really knocked out by this concept album that the band released. Actually, it's probably not a concept album, that's what people tell me, it just feels like a concept album to me. But this here is a double disc set, and it contains the original album in its stereo mix and in its mono mix. And you have some bonus tracks too. And I should talk about this album at greater length. I still feel like it's kind of an underappreciated classic, in my opinion. It's kind of, I still think it's kind of a lost classic, although it is starting to, to get its due. And it comes with a really nice booklet too. I've already read this one. It has a lot of great information about the history of the album, the making of the album, the history of the band, and how they were pretty much on the verge of breakup when, this album was being made. Like I said before, I only owned a digital copy of this album. I had been wanting to get a physical copy. So when I finally saw this deluxe 2 CD edition here, I just decided, yeah, this is the one I want to get. So really glad I was able to find this one. Now this next one, I was really surprised to actually find. This is a group called Poolside, and an album of theirs entitled Heat. Now, I actually talked about this mostly instrumental album on an episode with Music Worth Buying with Robert. The artist duo described their music as daytime disco. I just thought this was very cool, chill vibe, funky type of instrumental music. And it really inspired me to want to just pick up my guitar and jam to it. I think that was probably one of my main reasons for liking it so much. It was just one of those albums that really made me want to pull out my guitar and start playing along. I don't know if that translates to somebody who's not a guitarist, but I think that if music makes you groove like that and makes you want to pick up your instrument or want to pick up an instrument, then it's doing something right. And I know a lot of you probably aren't familiar with this, but we did do an episode where we talked about this album. I'll try to remember to leave a link to that episode in case you want to hear us talk about it a little more. We did play some clips. But what surprised me was that, as far as I knew, there was no physical album. With a lot of independent artists, they can't afford to put out and mass produce an album. I did a lot of searching when I first discovered the album on the internet, and all I could find was a digital copy that I could buy on Amazon as an MP3. So I was real glad to finally just see a physical album that I could actually hold in my hands and have a real physical CD in full quality WAV file and something I could look at and own. And so was very glad to find that. Now next is Goat's Head Soup by the Rolling Stones. This is one of the few Stones albums from their 70s period that I did not have in my personal collection. And once again, all I had previously was a digital copy. I bought this one. I was glad to find it in this particular format, which is in kind of the mini vinyl gatefold format here. This particular album takes a certain amount of heat. I've heard a lot of people really diss on this album, saying, it's not that good of a Stones album. It's not one of their best albums from this time period. And I don't understand that criticism. I think this is a really awesome album. And in fact, it's another one that I would say is kind of like an underappreciated Stones album. There's a lot of great hits on this album, of course. And just talking about this now makes me think that maybe I should do just a little, retrospective on it, a little kind of review, classic review on it. And maybe I will do that soon. But yeah, Goat's Head Suit by the Rolling Stones. I don't care what anybody says. I think this is a really good Stones album. Next is The Order of Time by Valerie June. Valerie June is an artist that I first saw on the iTunes Music Festival. I was streaming that. And when I saw her performing live, I have to admit, I wasn't that into her music, but so many critics seemed to like her. I decided to listen to her first album. That's not what I'm holding up here, by the way. But I listened to her first album, and the difference was night and day. I loved the first album. And in case you're wondering, well, what's her music like? I would describe it as kind of a sort of a modern Americana folk music mixed with blues. And she has a very blues type sounding voice, and she plays guitar. She also plays mandolin. But I really liked the rustic nature of her music. This is her second album here. And this was just one of those albums that came out maybe about a year or so ago, but I hadn't had a chance to catch up with it yet. So it's good to finally catch up with this. It's a good album, by the way. And it is one that I would bring on the couch with Robert and I to talk about on Music Worth Buying. Valerie June would recommend maybe streaming her first album, the title of which escapes me right now. I just looked it up. It's entitled Pushing Against a Stone. Really good album. I really enjoyed that one. This is going to be the last bit of music that I'm going to share, but Amoeba also sells books and video, and I did pick up something else that I'm going to talk about in just a moment here. But first, I managed to pick up this. This is a deluxe, or I'm guessing super deluxe edition, anniversary edition of Skylarking by XTC. You may remember that I mentioned Skylarking in my first 4 Songs That Sound Like the Beatles video. I discussed a song off their album Oranges and Lemons, which actually came after this album. But Skylarking is considered their classic. It's considered their Sgt. Pepper album. This special edition is built around the 2016 Steven Wilson remix. But in addition to that, it contains a 5.1 stereo remix, also supervised by Steven Wilson. It contains the entire album in demo form. It contains a host of other demos and non-album demos. It also contains an instrumental mix. There's a huge amount of material on this 2-disc set here. Here's the interior. Here's the interior without the discs inside. But the booklet is really, really nice. This contains a whole bunch of photos, lots of great historical information about the making of the album and about the individual tracks. Lots of great reading material here. I already own this album on CD, and I love the original Todd Rundgren produced album. I'm sure that Steven Wilson does not consider this in any way, shape, or form a replacement of it, just a different mix that you can listen to. And I was so impressed with Steven Wilson's remix of Chicago 2, I knew that I had to hear this. So I was really glad I finally found this here at Amoeba Music, found it used, and could get a good price on it. Now that's the last music purchase I want to share with you. But don't forget, Amoeba also sells video and books. And so I happened to find this. This is the Superman Golden Age Omnibus Volume 2. And you know I'm a big comics fan. Now, in case you're not familiar with this series, the DC Omnibus series reprints in chronological order every single story of some of their most famous characters. This is the Superman series. So Volume 1 begins with Action Comics #1, Superman's appearance, and begins to reprint every single story in chronological order. That includes covers. This is Volume 2. And this particular one, the original owner put some kind of like a protective cover over the original dust jacket, which is nice. And this is one that I didn't have yet, of course, otherwise I wouldn't have gotten it. It's in great condition. It looks pretty much brand new, you know. And these are in full color, of course. And they're nice. I like the fact that the pages are nice and huge. I've been meaning to talk about the omnibus books in general, just the series in general. And they've done one of Superman, they've done one of Batman, they're doing one of Wonder Woman. And like I said, this is relatively an inexpensive way to read these original stories and to own them. To buy these original comic books would cost you a fortune, of course. But even at that, these books are rather expensive. I think they cover price, most of them for about like $75. So this is a used copy. So once again, a really good deal. And also I was able to, of course, use trade credit. So that bag of used records paid off pretty well. I got a lot more than I thought I was going to get. And it's allowed me to pick up some stuff that I've been meaning to get for a while, have been hunting for a while, and a few things that I wasn't expecting to find. So that completes my Amoeba music and book haul. Got a lot of stuff to go listen to. A lot of it I've already heard, of course, but some of it I'm going to be able to hear in a whole new way, of course. And some of this stuff I think maybe I should talk about in more detail. Let me know your thoughts on that. What have you picked up lately? Have you done some used music shopping? And let us know what treasures you've picked up. I want to thank everybody so much for watching. Take care and have more videos coming soon. Bye-bye.